Subhadrama, Assistant Professor, JFJC, Tiptor. I would like to talk about the poem Tiger, written by William Blake. The Tiger. The speaker directly addresses a tiger, imagining its bright flashes of color in the dark night-time forest. The speaker asks which immortal being could possibly have created the tiger's fearsome beauty. The speaker wonders in which far-off depths or skies the tiger's fiery eyes were made. Did the tiger's creator have wings? And whose hand would be daring enough to create the tiger? The speaker imagines the kind of effort and skill that must have gone into creating the tiger, wondering who would be strong enough to build the tiger's muscular body, whose hands and feet were the ones that made the tiger's heart start beating. The speaker wonders about the tools the tiger's creator must have used, imagining that the tiger's brain was created in a forge. What terrifying being would be so daring as to create the tiger? The speaker mentions a time when the stars gave up their weapons and rained their tears on heaven. At this time, wonders the speaker, did the creator look at the tiger and smile at his accomplishment?
Yeah.
And was the tiger made by the same creator who made the lamb? The speaker addresses the tiger again, this time wondering not just who could create this fearsome beast, but who could dare. So, theme of the poem, the existence of evil. Like its sister poem, The Lamb, the tiger expresses awe at the marvel of God's creation, represented here by a tiger. But the tiger poses a problem. Everything about it seems to embody fear, danger, and terror. In a series of questions, the speaker of the tiger wonders whether this creature was really created by the same God who made the world's gentle and joyful creatures. And if the tiger was created by God, why did God choose to create such a fearsome animal? Through the example of the tiger, the poem examines the existence of evil in the world, asking the same question in many ways. If God created everything and is all powerful, why does evil exist? The speaker tries to reconcile the tiger's frightening nature with the idea of a loving God, but this attempt leads only to a series of seemingly unanswerable questions. The tiger is presented as an impressive figure and seems to be a part of God's design for the world. It, quote, burns brightly, unquote, and has a symmetry, unquote, a quality which Blake often associates with beauty and purposeful intent on God's part. But that symmetry is also fearful. The tiger seems designed to kill and inflict pain. In other words, the tiger behaves in a way that seems counter to God's laws and ethics. The tiger's association with the burning brightly, for example, underscores this point. It's visually impressive but dangerous to get close to it. The poem then mediates on the specific moment of the tiger's creation. When thy heart began to beat, unquote, it questions God's motivations in making the tiger, even considering the possibility that it was not actually a God who made the tiger. The speaker struggles to understand how a God that made the small, vulnerable lamb could also choose to make a being that would surely eat the lamb given of a chance. In other words, the speaker struggles to understand why God would create something that seems to have destruction as its very purpose. The poem leaves this line of questioning unanswered, though the questions are themselves made very clear and stark. They are essentially handed over to the reader to consider. The speaker does not know for sure why God has created something that seems evil. However, by detailing the tiger's fearsomeness and by directly comparing it to the innocent and gentle lamb, the poem hints that perhaps both creatures are necessary parts of God's creation. That is, perhaps the majesty of God's work requires these kinds of oppositional forces. By giving the tiger the same kind of consideration as the lamb, the speaker suggests that without fear and danger, there could be no love and joy. Opposites run throughout Blake's work: innocence and experience, the city and nature, childhood and adulthood, and so the tiger and the lamb can be seen as part of this pattern. In order for God to fully express His divinity, He has to create elements of the world that go beyond the understanding of humanity. God proves its power precisely because He acts in a ways that humanity cannot fully comprehend. The poem then is deeply complex set of questions that have no easy answers. There is no doubt, though, that the poem wants its reader to consider the way in which the world seems to contain both good and evil, to acknowledge these contradictory forces and question why they exist, even though the answers may never be clear. Another theme is the creativity. Though the tiger is specifically about how the nature of God's creation can be reconciled with the existence of the fearsome tiger, it is also about creativity more generally. Everything about the creation of the tiger suggests effort, skill, artistry, and imagination on the creator's part, suggesting that these qualities are necessary to create anything as frighteningly beautiful as the tiger. What's more, the speaker also hints that good creation in art, for example, needs to incorporate this more dangerous and intimidating side of the world. Without that complexity, the poem suggests a work of art won't be fully honest and authentic. The poem is itself, of course, the product of intense creativity. Blake revised and revised this poem, trying to pin it down to the exact form that best embodies its complicated questions. This artistry is mirrored by some of the word choices made throughout. For example, the framing of symmetry, lines 4 and 24, suggest a visual artist or engraver like Blake himself, making sure proportions of a project are correct. This type of language, which characterizes creativity as both effort and skill, is also found in the third and fourth stanzas. The fourth stanza in particular describes a metal workshop where beautiful things are made under intensely hot and pressured conditions. Along these lines, it is also important to note the way in which the creation of the tiger is consistently linked with fire. Indeed, the tiger itself is a kind of fiery creature. testament to the intense imagination with which it was created. Imagination itself is characterized as a kind of fire from which things can be created. If the creator is brave, strong, and skilled enough, there may even be allusion to the Greek myth of Prometheus here who tricked the gods, stealing fire and giving it to humanity. However, Prometheus was not rewarded for his ingenuity, instead, he was condemned to eternal punishment. The imagination the poem ultimately suggests is the location of a miraculous but dangerous kind of creative strength. That's why it takes bravery, the willingness to dare and cold, as the poem would put it, to create anything of any worth out of the fire of creativity. This interpretation of creativity certainly rings true with the story of Blake's life. For all his commitment, effort, and genius, he was thought of more as a madman than a visionary during his lifetime. Thank you.